Over the years, we've seen so many different versions of LeBron James. In his first stop in Cleveland, he's playing over 40 minutes a game. He takes a ton of shots. He leads the league in scoring one year. Then he goes to Miami. He's a dominant two-way force. Defensive LeBron in Miami was unbelievable. He could get to the rim whenever he wanted, and he was incredibly efficient. Some of the field goal shooting numbers of his years in Miami were out of control. Then he goes back to Cleveland. He increases the three-point volume and the passing as he starts to get a little bit older, and he starts to slip on defense. Then, when he first gets to LA, he shoots even more threes, but doesn't shoot them particularly well, but he's still this great connector. He leads the league in assists one year, and then now we get to this version of LeBron. Later on in his career in LA, he's 39 years old, and he's still showing that he can be the guy on certain nights. But what's different about this version of LeBron compared to either time in Cleveland, in Miami, or early on with the Lakers? Well, first of all, the three-point numbers for LeBron are really impressive. He's shooting a career-high 40% from three this year, on 5.5 attempts per game. The volume for him from three-point range has always kind of fluctuated depending on the situation that he's in, depending on who he's playing alongside, but the efficiency has never been where it is now. And some of these, as we saw against the Clippers, are really tough threes as well. He's doing it off the dribble. Of course, he has his classic move where he acts like he's not going to shoot it and then shoots it over the guy. And this is arguably the number one thing that has allowed him to age as well as he has and still score the ball really well, is because he is a much improved three-point shooter from where he was at any other point in his career. He's always fluctuated in terms of volume. That has gone up and down, but the efficiency has never been like this. And to go along with that, LeBron knows that he's older. He knows that he can't be getting to the rim as much, and that certainly is shown in the stats. He's getting to the rim way less this year, career low in free throws per game, and that goes along with age. That happens to every star. No matter who you are, no matter what your physical profile is, guys get to the rim less as they age. It's harder to explode around defenders. You have to take more mid-range shots. You have to take more of these in-between shots. Guys get into the post a lot more as they age. Getting all the way to the rim and finishing well and or getting free throws is not only more dangerous because you could get hurt because you're older, but two, is just more difficult, and we see that with LeBron as well. And also with this version of this Lakers team, he is more okay with just letting other guys create than he ever has been at any other point in his career. He's passing the ball more, almost 8 assists per game, but the willingness for him to let Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, these other guys create offense, that's never been there before the way that it is this year. And he's still a connector. His per game stats are still incredible, but because his minutes are down, he's playing a career low in minutes this year. Overall, his stats are lower, and like I said, he's less engaged in the game overall than he ever has been. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because obviously the goal is to be ready to go in the postseason, but it's clear that he recognizes that as he continues to age, he's going to have to let other guys do more and more stuff. But to be clear, I say his per game numbers are down. I say that he's coasting more than he ever has. Averaging 25, 8, and 7 on 40% three-point shooting, that's still pretty solid. It's still really good. LeBron is still an unbelievable player, and he showcased that last night against the Clippers, that he still can be one of these kinds of guys on some nights when he really has it, when he's shooting the ball well. He can be an unbelievable difference maker. He can be incredibly impactful. The difference now between this version of LeBron, maybe a couple years ago in LA, and all the previous versions as well, is he can't do it for the entire game. LeBron is not going to have a start to finish, unbelievably impactful game at 39 years old. It's just not realistic. We saw it with this game where he's unbelievable in the fourth. He hits like 5 threes in the fourth and leads the Lakers back from down, I think 19 or 21 against the Clippers. And then we saw it last year as well in the series against Denver. LeBron had some amazing quarters, some amazing halves even against a really good Nuggets team, but he wasn't able to sustain it for the entire game. It's not realistic to expect him to sustain it for the entire game at 39 years old. And again, LeBron's very aware of this, so he coasts more now than we've ever seen from him before. He doesn't really pay that much attention on defense, and like I said, he's more willing to let other guys create on offense, and part of that is because it's the regular season. He's done that the last couple of seasons. He also is somehow still able to get all of his great per game numbers despite coasting, as I'm saying, but also part of that is just a lack of ability to really dominate a game from start to finish. And what that means potentially for the Lakers in the postseason is really interesting, because the roster around LeBron is actually pretty solid. Cam Reddish can guard. They've got creators in the backcourt like D'Lo and Austin Reeves. Maybe Spencer Dinwiddie will be a piece for them. They've got some spacing. Of course, they have Anthony Davis in the front court as well. But we saw last year that that is enough to still get them deeper into the playoffs, to get them to the conference finals. But it's still not enough to beat the better teams in the conference. It was enough to beat the Clippers last night, although they were missing some guys. But last year against Denver, the series was never really truly competitive, with the exception of when LeBron truly was at his peak. And he doesn't have the ability to go to that point anymore. And so it is always worth wondering where this is all going to go from here, because I think we saw last year with how great he was against Denver at times, and then them still not being able to get over the hump. And I think that we can kind of tell that they're not going to be able to reach the same kind of ceiling that they were a handful of years ago with this version of LeBron. And it's interesting because he has shown an ability to, if you put another really great player on this roster, be a complementary piece. If they have like an all-star caliber guard on this team next year, potentially they get in the offseason, then maybe there is a way for this team to truly reach their ceiling moving forward, potentially be a championship level team again. But right now, with LeBron and AD as your best players, who in the past, I've never counted them out. I'm always afraid to play against those guys in the postseason. But with this version of LeBron, even as incredible as he is, I wonder if that ceiling still exists for them. If you can still say, oh, they at least have those two guys, they're going to be scary. Yes, that's true, but maybe not against the top tier teams in the postseason. So as they go into the offseason, maybe they will look to add another guard. And it's interesting because the way that LeBron plays now is more conducive to adding another star to this group than really it ever has been before, because of that willingness to let other guys do stuff, and because of how good he still is. I mean, at 39 years old, 25, 8, and 7 on 40% three-point shooting is not something to complain about. It is something to celebrate. It is an unbelievable accomplishment that he is still playing as well as he is at his age. But we can tell, even on nights when he has it, and he has an unbelievable game against the Clippers, it's a great quarter or it's a great half. He can't do it for the entire game, and that's okay. Now, the other part of this equation, of course, is I'm talking about the future for the Lakers. I'm talking about what the team could look like next year if they add another star. Well, one, he has to be on the team. He can opt out and leave. We don't know what's going to happen with Bronny, but also he has to be in the league. I don't know. Maybe LeBron will retire this year. Maybe he'll retire the year after that. That's something to always keep an eye on, but just an incredible accomplishment for him to still be at the level that he is, even if when you watch the games, he is coasting out there. He is kind of chilling. He's not really putting in maximum effort, for very many quarters or very many halves in a given week or in a given season. But the fact that he's still able to get to these counting stats is unbelievable. And you can tell that his impact is still way up there. I don't think that he's necessarily a top 5 or a top 10 player in the league anymore right now, but he can still get to something close to that level for a quarter, for a half on certain nights. And it's still super fun to see him be able to put that together for small stretches. And I hope that we get to see that some more in the postseason. I hope that the rest of the Lakers play well around him to allow for those kinds of moments. And I definitely think that the Lakers have an opportunity to make some noise in the postseason. Maybe not against teams like Denver, maybe not against teams they don't have a great matchup against, but they're still really good. Bron and AD are still really good, and the ceiling is still potentially on that like conference finals level, depending on the matchups they get as they go through the postseason. But really, this is just a really, really cool version of LeBron, seeing him continue to change his game throughout the years, and now finding a really cool fit with this Lakers team, depending on what they want to add here in the future.